with the Michigan Taxpayers Alliance, folks. A statewide organization of citizens that believe they pay enough or too much in taxes. And last night I was at a forum at Central Michigan University, and one of the students asked the panel what could be done to bring Michigan's budget in line already, despite the tax increases, the 22% business tax increase, and 12% income tax increase. Shockingly, it didn't bring in more revenue. It actually brought in less after they raised taxes. And there was a number of people on the panel who asked, what would they do to reduce spending? And the first person to speak was State Representative Ken Horn, a Republican from, I believe, the Bay City area. And he, in about 2 minutes, listed $800 million worth of 3 common sense budget cuts. And then the person to my left was at the Mackinac Center for Public Policy, and he had a brochure with 101 recommendations for reforming Michigan and cutting the budget. He was able to list a bunch of recommendations right off the bat. But what this actually did was kind of confuse the students a little bit and the audience, because they were under the impression that cutting the budget was really hard. And here are these people listing these common sense sounding stuff right off the top of their heads in just a couple minutes. And one of the students asked, well, that sounds actually pretty easy and pretty easy to do. Why doesn't that happen? And the reason is, I know we're in a partisan event here, but I'm going to get a little bipartisan, and that is politicians are called politicians, not policy-atitions. They make political decisions, not policy decisions. And I spoke before this group before, and I told everybody here, and I know there's a lot of new people here, that when I was in the state legislature, where I served for 6 years, and I was a staffer for another 6 years, there's a group of people that sat up on the balcony all the time, the same people, the same faces, and those people that sat up on the balcony, their primary job was to take your money. That was their full-time, primary, everyday, paid, highly compensated job. They were called the Takers Coalition. Their job is to keep track of me as a politician, as a state representative. What was my favorite food? What was my favorite drink? What do I prefer, the Red Wing games or Piston games or Lions games? What is it I like to do? And their job is to keep me happy and keep the lawmakers happy. And lawmakers, a lot of people think of our elected officials as our political leaders. They really aren't our leaders. They follow where it's safe to go. And the politicians up in the balcony's job is to make it safe for them to go their way. Make it safe for them to take your money. How do they make it safe to take your money? Well, they give them big campaign contributions. Not the 25 or 50 bucks that you folks send in, or 100 bucks or 30 bucks. They give the 5,000 bucks. And it's all to make it safe. They also make sure they get those politicians reelected. That's safe. It's safe to follow the takers. It's not safe to follow the citizens necessarily, to act in their interest, because they're going to send you 25 bucks. And the takers are going to send $5 grand to your opponent. So the job of the Michigan Taxpayers Alliance, the reason I formed that organization, and a group of us got together and formed the organization, is to make it not safe to vote against the taxpayer. To make it scary to vote against the taxpayer. And to give the takers up the balcony, up in the balcony a run for your money. A chance for you folks to keep your money. And it hasn't been an easy task, because the takers are full-time paid and very well organized and have a lot of experience. And you folks have these things called families and jobs, at least some of you still have jobs. And then you've got kids and sick parents and other problems. You don't have somebody sitting in the balcony all day calculating how you can keep your money for you. And that's the job of the Taxpayers Alliance. And we do it a number of ways. One of the ways we don't do it is just by issuing reports or policy briefings. There are groups that do that and do a great job. There's think tanks that do that and do a great job. Mackinac Center is one of them, and there's a number of others. We do it through political action, concentrated force, and we've got some heroes in this room who have taken a lead in the past in making a difference and being those political leaders. Rose Bogart is sitting right here with the Wayne County Tax.
Let's give Rose a big hand.
Rose did all of us a huge favor when she decided she would take on her state representative, the Speaker of the House, Andy Dillon, and attempt to recall him from office after they passed those 2 tax increases a year and a half ago. Now, She wasn't successful at recalling, and we weren't successful. I helped, and Rose and I worked together, a number of us. But we did do some things. We went to court in Cincinnati and had all the laws that the legislature had put in place to stop people from circulating recall petitions. They created a whole bunch of laws that only applied to recall petition circulators. That made it impossible to follow them. We got all those laws thrown out in federal court. Now, not only did we demonstrate we could collect the signatures once we won the signature battle, we proved that it's going to be easier now that other citizens can do it without all those restrictive laws. You know, my friends who are not as involved in politics, some of them think, well, geez, Leon, you know, you were in the legislature and you did all these things. You got to meet a lot of political leaders, our party leaders. Tell me, you know, what inspires them to lead? Folks, I can't emphasize enough that they don't lead, they follow where it's safe to go. Your job is to lead. The people at the taxpayer tea parties, those are the leaders that I saw that day in Lansing. Not the state representatives, not the state senators, not the governor. And the people that I see in this room, you guys are the leaders that I see, not the elected officials. And when elected officials see it's safe to follow you, because you're going to reward them by helping on their campaigns when they actually do the right and honest thing on those occasions. And you're going to punish them when they don't. And that's when they realize it's safe to follow you. And that's the job of the Michigan Taxpayers Alliance, is to make it safe to do the right thing for the taxpayer. Right now, for example, in Macomb County, the County Board of Commissioners are trying to get a 9% property tax increase passed. They're voting a week from tonight, on Thursday, in Macomb County. A county, by the way, where county government employees are allowed to retire at the age of 50 years of age, 50, at full taxpayer expense. This is not a 401k plan they put money toward as they're working. This is, they put 5% in, you taxpayers put 95% in. As a matter of fact, the federal government's own agency came out with a report, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 2 weeks ago, that showed the average benefit package for a private sector worker in the United States costs $8.98 an hour. But the average benefit package for a government worker in the United States is $13.74 an hour. As a matter of fact, the average government employee, and the average federal government employee, makes 27% more than the average private sector worker. But even when you match people up position for position, you look at a government secretary, for example, with 10 years experience versus a private sector secretary with 10 years experience, or a geologist that works for federal government versus one that works for private sector, or whatever it might be. And you match them up, position by position, the government employee makes about 10% more in salary and almost double in benefits. So the question becomes, who's working for who? Who's serving who? And we've got to reverse. There cannot continue to be a taxpayer class that is the servants of the government class. You know, it's the other way around. We're going to be at that meeting next week in Macomb County when they try and pass that tax increase. And we're going to have a bunch of people wearing T-shirts that's going to say the words, "Recall tax hikers." And they're going to go and testify wearing those T-shirts. And the laws that Rose fought to get thrown out in federal court that she was successful at, now any one of you can come to Macomb County now, by the way, and circulate a recall petition against somebody who raises tax increases. It takes 3,000 signatures to put them on the ballot and put a little fear into them. It just takes 1 or 2 heads to roll, and it doesn't look safe to go with the takers anymore. This has been done before. Taxpayers have risen up. They've gotten organized. I see Bill McMaster sitting back here, a hero from of the taxpayers for many decades, who was very active in fighting for the Headley Amendment, helping craft the Headley Amendment. There's been others who have risen up, recalled state senators in the past, one here in Oakland County, Senator Sirotkin, David Sirotkin, back in 1983. I feel that momentum coming back. I feel the taxpayers getting pissed off again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel that getting organized again. There's a lady here who asked a little earlier, well, what should we do? What should I do as an individual? Well, first, there's a lot of great organizations here. You should join some of them, including the Taxpayers Alliance, I hope. But second, if you can't wait to find out what you should do by others organizing and telling us, figure out what you can do. Maybe it's only a little bit. Maybe it's showing up at a meeting and testifying and wearing a T-shirt. Maybe it's writing letters to the editor. I don't know what it is. You do something well. Figure out what you do well and go do it in order to bring down the size, scope, and cost of government and reassert the rights of you as citizens and taxpayers.